AITA for refusing to babysit my dad's kids after he told me his wife doesn't know I exist. He says I'm being selfish and that family helps family, but he literally hid my entire existence from her for 3 years. Now his marriage might be over, and he's blaming me. I, 22F, am sitting here absolutely shell-shocked and need to know if I'm the asshole in this situation, because my dad is telling me I've ruined his life, but I genuinely don't think I did anything wrong. This is going to be long because the backstory is crucial to understanding how insane this situation is. My parents divorced when I was 8 years old. It wasn't amicable. My dad, now 46M, had an affair with a woman from his office, and when my mom found out, she immediately filed for divorce. The whole thing was messy, lots of lawyers, fighting over custody, my dad trying to pay as little child support as possible. In the end, my mom got primary custody, and my dad got me every other weekend and some holidays. Even that felt like too much to him. He'd frequently cancel our weekends together, claiming he had to work or had other obligations. Sometimes he'd show up hours late to pick me up, or forget to pick me up at all. As I got older, his involvement decreased even more. By the time I was in high school, I maybe saw him once a month, if that. He'd call occasionally, remember my birthday about half the time, and showed up to exactly 0 of my school events, games, or performances. When I graduated high school, he sent a card with $50 in it. He didn't come to my graduation ceremony because he said he had a work thing. I later found out from my aunt that he was actually on vacation that week. Despite all this, I kept trying to have a relationship with him. I'd text him, call him, try to make plans. He was always busy, or would make plans and then cancel last minute. It hurt, but I told myself that maybe he was just bad at being a dad, that maybe he still loved me even if he didn't show it well. When I turned 18, the child support stopped, and so did most of his contact. I'd hear from him maybe every few months. I went to college, paid for by scholarships, loans, and my dad contributed nothing, and he didn't visit me once during those 4 years. I graduated last year with a degree in education and got a job teaching elementary school in the same city where I grew up, about 45 minutes from where my dad lives. I reached out to tell him I was back in the area and maybe we could have dinner. He said sure sometime but never followed up. So you can imagine my surprise when, 2 weeks ago, my dad called me out of the blue. Hey, sweetie.
How are you?
I feel like we haven't talked in forever. It had been 4 months since our last conversation, but sure. We made small talk for a few minutes, and then he said, so listen, I have a favor to ask. I'm in kind of a bind, and I'm hoping you can help me out. I should have known better, but I was honestly just excited he was calling, so I said, sure, Dad. What do you need? Well, you know I got remarried a few years ago. I did not know this. This was news to me. And my wife Stephanie and I have 2 kids together. Twin boys, they're 2 years old. Stephanie's mother had a stroke and is in the hospital about 3 hours away. Stephanie needs to go be with her, obviously, but I have a huge work project and can't take time off. We need someone to watch the boys for a few days, maybe a week. Daycare can't do full days, and we're kind of desperate. He paused. I was hoping you could help us out. I'd pay you, of course. I was processing multiple pieces of information at once. My dad got remarried. My dad has 2 more kids. My dad apparently has toddler sons, which means he's been a father to them for 2 years while barely acknowledging my existence. Dad, I didn't even know you got remarried. When did that happen? About 3 years ago. Yeah, I guess I forgot to mention it. Things have just been so busy, you know how it is. He forgot to mention that he got remarried and had 2 more children. I don't know, Dad. I have my teaching job. I can't just take a week off. It's summer though, right? Teachers have summers off. I'm working summer school and I have training sessions. Come on, sweetie. I really need you. Family helps family, right? And I'll pay you $200 for the week. $200 for a week of full-time childcare for 2 toddlers. That's insulting. But more than that, something felt really off about this whole situation. Does Stephanie know you're asking me? Does she know about me? There was a long pause. Too long. Well, the thing is, Stephanie doesn't exactly know about you. My blood, went cold. What do you mean she doesn't know about me? I mean, I haven't told her about you, about my first marriage, about having another kid. It just never came up. Dad, we've been divorced from Mom for 14 years. You've been remarried for 3. How has it never come up that you have an adult daughter? Look, it's complicated. When Stephanie and I got together, I was trying to start fresh, you know. I didn't want to bring up past mistakes. I'm a past mistake? That's not what I meant. I just mean that part of my life was complicated and painful, and I wanted to move forward. Stephanie doesn't need to know about all that. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. My own father had erased me from his life story. To his wife of 3 years and his young children, I simply didn't exist. So you want me to come babysit your kids, but you don't want your wife to know who I am? I was thinking I could introduce you as the daughter of a friend, or like a family friend's kid who's helping out. She doesn't need to know the details. The details being that I'm your daughter.
Right.
It would just make things complicated. I was so angry I could barely speak.
No.
No, I'm not going to babysit your kids and pretend I'm not your daughter. That's insane. You should tell your wife the truth. I can't do that right now. Her mother is in the hospital. She has enough stress. Then hire an actual babysitter. There are services for this exact situation. But your family, and those services are expensive. I am family, but you've spent my entire life making me feel like I'm not. And now you want me to help you out while continuing to hide my existence? Absolutely not. He started getting angry. You know what? I've tried to be a good father to you. No, you haven't. And this is how you repay me? When I'm in a bind and need help, you turn your back on me? Like you've turned your back on me my entire life? I'm going to remember this. When you need something from me someday, don't come crying. Dad, I've needed things from you my whole life, and you were never there. This conversation is over. I hung up. I was shaking. I called my mom and told her everything. She was livid on my behalf and said my dad was even worse than she thought, if he'd literally hidden my existence from his new family. I thought that was the end of it. I was hurt and angry, but I figured my dad would find another solution and we'd go back to our barely there relationship. Then 3 days ago, I got a call from an unknown number. Hello. Hi, is this my name? A woman's voice I didn't recognize. Yes, who's this? This is Stephanie. I'm your father's wife. Oh no. I found your number in my husband's phone under Sarah with no last name. When I asked him who Sarah was, he said you were the daughter of an old friend who might be able to babysit. But when I tried to call this old friend to arrange babysitting, the number went to voicemail and your voicemail greeting says your full name, which is the same last name as my husband's. I didn't say anything. I didn't know what to say. So I Googled you. And I found your Facebook, which isn't very private by the way. And your Facebook says you're from my hometown, which is where my husband is from. And there are pictures of you as a kid with a man who looks exactly like my husband. My heart was pounding. Are you my husband's daughter? I made a split-second decision. I was done protecting my father's lies.
Yes.
I'm 22. My parents divorced when I was 8. My dad has had minimal contact with me for most of my life. When he called me 2 weeks ago, it was the first time I'd heard from him in 4 months. He asked me to babysit your twins, but told me you didn't know I existed and asked me to pretend to be a family friend. I refused. There was silence on the other end. Then, oh my God. I'm sorry you're finding out this way. I genuinely thought he would have told you. Being married for 3 years and having kids together, I assumed you knew. I had no idea. He told me he was married before, briefly in his 20s, but he said they never had kids. He said it was just a short marriage that didn't work out. He's never mentioned you. Not once. She started crying. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry you've been erased like this. That's not right. I started crying too. I'm sorry about your mom. I hope she's okay. Thank you, she said quietly. Then, can I ask you something? Did your dad offer to pay you to babysit? He offered $200 for the week. She laughed bitterly. Of course he did.
Okay.
I need to go. I need to think. I'm sorry again for everything. She hung up. I immediately called my dad. He didn't answer. I texted. Your wife called me. She knows. Within 2 minutes, my phone was ringing. My dad, absolutely furious. What did you tell her? The truth. She asked if I was your daughter, and I said yes. You had no right. That wasn't your information to share. Dad, she already knew. She found me on Facebook. She saw pictures of us together. She asked me a direct question, and I answered honestly. You should have denied it. You should have called me first. You've ruined everything. I ruined everything. You're the one who's been lying to your wife for 3 years. You're the one who erased your own daughter. Stephanie is furious. She's talking about taking the kids and leaving. Our marriage might be over because of you, because of me. No, Dad, because of you and your lies. If my marriage ends, it's on you. You couldn't just help me out. You had to be selfish and make everything about you. You asked me to babysit while pretending I don't exist. How is that me making it about me? Family is supposed to help each other. Then why haven't you been family to me for the past 14 years? He hung up on me. Since then, I've gotten multiple texts from him. I hope you're proud of yourself. You've destroyed my family. Stephanie won't even talk to me. The boys are crying because their mother left. All you had to do was babysit for a few days. I gave you life, and this is how you repay me. I haven't responded to any of them. My mom is 100% on my side, saying my dad is reaping what he sowed and that I did nothing wrong. My maternal grandmother called saying she's proud of me for standing up for myself. But here's where I'm doubting myself. My dad's sister, my Aunt Carol, called me yesterday. She said she understands I'm hurt, but that I should have handled this differently. She said I should have warned my dad that Stephanie had figured it out, or told Stephanie I couldn't talk, and given my dad a chance to tell her himself. She said that by confirming the truth to Stephanie, I blew up my dad's life unnecessarily. She said I could have babysit the kids, avoided this whole mess, and maybe eventually encouraged my dad to tell the truth in his own time.
He's still your father, she said.
You only get one dad. Is your pride really worth destroying his marriage? That got to me. Because yes, I'm hurt and angry at my dad. But I never wanted to destroy his marriage or hurt his kids. Those little boys didn't do anything wrong. Stephanie didn't do anything wrong. Was I wrong to confirm the truth when Stephanie asked? Should I have lied to protect my dad's secrets? Should I have just babysit the kids and kept my mouth shut? Another part of me feels like I'm not responsible for my dad's lies catching up with him. He created this situation. He chose to hide my existence. He chose to ask me for help while continuing to hide me. And when his wife, who had already figured out something was wrong, asked me a direct question, what was I supposed to do? Lie for him? But Aunt Carol made me feel like I was petty and vindictive. Like I wanted revenge on my dad and jumped at the chance to ruin his life. That's not true. I didn't seek out Stephanie. I didn't go looking to expose my dad. She called me, she'd already found evidence, and she asked me directly. Was I supposed to gaslight her and tell her she was crazy? Then yesterday, I got a text from Stephanie. Thank you for being honest with me. I know this must be hard for you too. For what it's worth, I don't blame you for any of this. Your father is the only one responsible for his lies. I'm filing for separation. The boys and I are staying with my mother. I hope someday we can talk more, when things aren't so raw. You have half-brothers who deserve to know their sister.
This made me cry.
Because Stephanie sounds like a good person, and she's going through hell, and her kids are going to grow up in a broken home now. And part of me feels responsible, even though logically, I know I'm not. My dad sent me one final text. I hope you can live with what you've done. You've taken my children from me. You've destroyed their family. All because you couldn't let go of your grudge and just help me when I needed you. Don't bother reaching out to me again. You're not my daughter anymore. That one really hurt. Even though our relationship has been terrible, even though he's been a bad father, seeing those words, "You're not my daughter anymore," broke something in me. So Reddit, AITA? Should I have lied to Stephanie? Should I have warned my dad first? Should I have just babysit the kids and avoided this whole situation? My mom and friends say I did nothing wrong, but my dad and his sister are making me feel like I maliciously destroyed his family when I could have easily prevented it. I genuinely don't know anymore. The guilt is eating me alive. Edit. Wow, I did not expect this response. Reading through comments, and I need to clarify a few things. No, my dad has never paid child support late or missed payments to my knowledge. My mom handled all of that and never complained about the financial side. It was the emotional absence that was the problem. I'm not completely no contact with my dad's side of the family. I see some aunts, uncles, and cousins occasionally at holidays at my grandparents' house. My dad usually doesn't show up to those anyway. Some people asked about my half-brothers. They're 2 years old. I've never met them. I didn't know they existed until 2 weeks ago. For those asking if I feel bad, yes. I feel terrible. Not because I think I did something wrong, but because 2 little kids and a woman who did nothing wrong are suffering because of my dad's lies coming out. Update 3 days later. I wasn't planning to update so soon, but things have escalated and I need to vent/process. Stephanie called me again yesterday. She said she's been going through my dad's phone records, emails, and documents as part of gathering evidence for the separation, and she's discovered that my existence isn't the only thing he's lied about. Apparently, he told her he was paying off student loans for years, but he doesn't have any student loans. She thinks he might have been hiding money or sending it somewhere else. She also found emails suggesting he might have had an affair last year, though she's not sure yet. She said finding out about me opened the floodgates, and now she's questioning everything about their marriage. She asked if I'd be willing to talk to her lawyer about my dad's character and history. I said I'd think about it. Stephanie also sent me pictures of my half-brothers. They're adorable. They have my dad's eyes. It's weird seeing them and knowing we're related, but I've never met them. She said once things settle down, she'd like me to meet them. That someday, when they're old enough to understand, she wants them to know they have a big sister. This made me cry again, because it's what I always wanted for my dad to acknowledge me, to include me in his family. But it took his wife finding out about me accidentally for that to even be a possibility. As for my dad, he's apparently been calling Stephanie nonstop, showing up at her mother's house, sending flowers and letters. She's had to threaten a restraining order. He sent me one more text. I hope you realize you've turned my wife against me. She would have never left if you hadn't poisoned her against me with your lies. My lies. As if I'm the one who's been lying for 3 years. I blocked his number after that. Aunt Carol called again saying I'm being dramatic by blocking my dad and that I should be the bigger person and help him through this difficult time. I told her that I've spent 22 years trying to have a relationship with a man who didn't want me, and I'm done. She said I'd regret this someday. Maybe I will. But right now, I feel lighter than I have in years. Update 2, 1 week later. Stephanie and I met for coffee today. She's an elementary school teacher too, coincidentally. We talked for 3 hours. She told me more about my dad's lies. He apparently told her his parents were dead. They're not. They live 2 states over. That he was an only child. He has 2 sisters, and that he'd never been in serious debt. He had a gambling problem in his 20s that my mom helped him through. Basically, my dad has constructed an entirely false version of himself for Stephanie. She asked me about my childhood, about my relationship with my dad. I told her everything. The missed weekends, the forgotten birthdays, the graduation he skipped, the complete absence.
She cried.
She said, he's done the exact same thing to our boys that he did to you. Even living with them, he's barely present. He works late, goes out with friends on weekends, forgets their doctor appointments. I've been making excuses for him, thinking he was just stressed with work. But now I see it's just who he is. We talked about the boys. She showed me more pictures and videos. She said they're good kids, sweet and energetic. She said she's terrified of them growing up without a father, but also terrified of them growing up with a father, like my dad. I told her about growing up with him as my dad. I told her honestly that his absence hurt, but that in some ways, it was better than having a dad who was physically present but emotionally absent and neglectful. Before we left, Stephanie hugged me and said, I'm sorry for what he did to you. You deserved better. You deserved a father who was proud of you and present for you. And I'm sorry that in trying to build a life with him, I unknowingly participated in erasing you. I told her it wasn't her fault.
She didn't know.
She said, no, but I should have asked more questions. He was so vague about his past, and I just accepted it. I should have wondered why a man in his 40s had no connection to his family, no old friends, no history. I should have seen the red flags.
We're planning to meet again next week.
She wants me to meet my half-brothers eventually, when the separation is more settled, and they're in a more stable routine. As for my dad, he's apparently hired a lawyer and is fighting the separation. He's claiming Stephanie is being irrational and that I manipulated her against him. His lawyer has requested that I not communicate with Stephanie, but Stephanie's lawyer says I'm free to talk to whoever I want. My dad has also apparently reached out to my mom for the first time in years, asking her to talk sense into me and get me to tell Stephanie that I made everything up. My mom told him to lose her number. I'm still processing all of this. Part of me feels vindicated, like finally, my dad is facing consequences for his actions. But part of me just feels sad. Sad for the relationship we never had. Sad for those little boys who are going to grow up with the same absent father I had. Sad that it took a nuclear explosion to reveal the truth. But I'm also hopeful. Stephanie seems like a genuinely good person. And the idea that I might get to know my half-brothers, that they might get to have a big sister who's actually present in their lives, that feels like something good coming out of something terrible. I'll update again if anything major happens. Thanks for all the support, Reddit. You've helped me feel less crazy during the craziest time of my life. Final update, 3 weeks later. I met my half-brothers today. Stephanie invited me over to her mother's house. The boys were shy at first, hiding behind Stephanie's legs, but they warmed up quickly. We played with blocks and read stories. They're absolutely adorable and full of energy. At one point, one of the twins asked Stephanie, "Who's that?" pointing at me. Stephanie looked at me and I nodded. She knelt down and said, "This is your big sister. Her name is my name." The boy looked confused. "Sister?" "Yes, you have a big sister. Isn't that cool?" They seemed to accept this immediately, the way kids do, and went back to playing. After the boys went down for naps, Stephanie and I talked more. She's officially filed for divorce. My dad is not taking it well. He's been telling people that Stephanie is keeping the boys from him out of spite, that I'm a liar who ruined his life, that none of this is his fault. Stephanie's lawyer has advised her to document everything, especially any concerning behavior from my dad. She also told me something that made my blood boil. Apparently, when Stephanie confronted my dad about hiding me, he told her that I was troubled and mentally unstable and that he'd hidden me to protect his new family from my drama. I have never been anything but a normal kid trying to have a relationship with her dad. The fact that he'd villainize me to justify his lies is just, it's beyond words. But Stephanie didn't believe him. She said, "The man I thought I married would never have abandoned his child. So either he was lying to me about who he was, or he's lying to me about you. Either way, he's a liar." She's team OP now, fully. As for me, I'm doing okay. I started therapy last week to process all of this. My therapist says I'm handling it remarkably well considering the circumstances. My relationship with Stephanie is growing. We text regularly now, sharing teaching stories and memes. She's become something like a friend, which is weird given that she's my dad's soon-to-be ex-wife, but also kind of perfect. I'm planning to see the boys again next week. Stephanie says they've been asking about their big sister, which makes my heart full. My dad has gone fully no contact, which honestly is a relief. Aunt Carol has also stopped calling after I told her firmly that I wouldn't be discussing this with her anymore. The rest of my dad's family has been split. Some have reached out to apologize for not being more present in my life. Others have clearly chosen my dad's side and believe his version of events. I'm okay with that. I'm learning that I don't need everyone to understand or approve of my choices. I just need to live with integrity and protect my own peace. Someone in the comments said, "You didn't blow up your dad's life. You just refused to keep his secrets." That's been my mantra lately. I didn't destroy his marriage. He did, by building it on lies. I didn't take his children from him. He pushed them away by being the same absent father to them that he was to me. I didn't ruin his life. I just refused to participate in my own erasure. And honestly, I'm proud of that. To anyone in a similar situation, you don't owe anyone your silence, especially not to protect people who couldn't protect you. Tell your truth. Live your truth. The right people will believe you. Thanks for everything, Reddit. This community helped me through one of the hardest times of my life. Red Heart.